Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Slay to Success Talk Show. My name is Rochelle Slay, or Slay Queen Hemingway, CEO and founder of Slay to Success Consulting. And y'all, we are in for a special treat. So stop what you're doing. I know the Oscars are on. Okay, I know it's March Madness out here, but this is a conversation that you don't want to miss. And yes, please make sure you have your pen and your notebook because you're about to get learned on this show. Okay. I just know that this is going to be a conversation for all of us to really appreciate and really listen into. So, as you come in, please let me know who you are and where you're streaming in from. Give a shout out, if you will, so that we can give you a shout out. And y'all, the purpose of this talk show is to bring in women, men who are inspirational. This is more educational, empowerment for individuals. We're sharing actionable strategies for personal branding, leadership presence, and professional growth. And it's a platform where I break down with my guests the principles of the SLAY method, which is strategic identity, leadership presence, aesthetics authority, and your narrative power. And at this core, the show really connects real life experiences with practical tools, helping viewers transform their identity, influence, and visibility so they can achieve the success they're capable of. And it's all about turning potential into presence and presence into opportunity. So please make sure that you tune in for more shows. This is aired every Sunday night, well, selected Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And they're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and the YouTube channel, which is Slay to Success YouTube channel. Now we got that all out of the way. Let me introduce you all to my special guest. Now, she is a special guest to me. She is my great friend. She is my sister in arms. Her name is Charmaine Kelley, and she is the founder and executive director of About You Today, LLC. She proudly served 29 years in the United States Air Force, retiring as the Command Chief Master Sergeant for the Air Force District of Washington, where she advised senior leaders and represented thousands of airmen across the national capital region. And today, she continues her commitment to leadership, mentorship, and community empowerment through her work with About You Today. So please, y'all, give a warm welcome to my special guest, Charmaine.
Girl, you got that down. Come on now.
Look, we going in hot. Okay. All right. What are these words? I got to put them out there and let folks know. And we already got guests on the Facebook side. So Facebook doesn't allow me to be great. Okay. I don't know why, but I see on the phone we have Vanity Cross Williams. You know, she's our sister in arms as well. Mm-hmm. And she is watching in. Glenn Roy is watching in. He's my brother in arms. We were stationed at Vegas. He's still there. He's ironing his clothes for the work week, and he's so glad to be here. And of course, our sister in arms, Kimberly Pollard. Thank you so much, Queen, for being here. And she's tuning in from Burke, Virginia. So we got some deer up in the house already. So I'm just so grateful for your yes. I am so thankful for your service. And most importantly, for our friendship, because it's hard to find other women who are ambitious, hard driving, purposeful, God-fearing, especially in this world that we have going on right now. And so when you said yes, that you were going to be here on the show, I was like, man, this conversation right here is going to be the conversation. Okay.
That's right. So
please let the audience know a little bit about who you are. You can start from wherever you want, Queen, and we'll just keep the conversation rolling.
Okay, because I'm sure like throughout, you'll find out a little bit more about who I am. So my name is Charmaine Kelley. I love to start off with that, you know, because periodically throughout my military career, I forgot what my name was. And we'll talk about that a little bit. From Columbia, South Carolina, for all of my Carolinians, what's going on, fam? Y'all know I love my family in Columbia, South Carolina. That's where I actually had my retirement ceremony because it was important for me that I took it home back to where I started, you know, to people that I know, like as they look at me in that audience, they are sitting there just smiling because they knew that I did that this whole entire 29 years for them. went to my first location at Ramstein Air Base, where I had an opportunity to go back and serve as the 86th Airlift Wing Command Chief there. But I was also there as an Airman Basic, which is where I met my husband, Olin. And
wow.
yeah, so he and I were there from the beginning, and then we got to go back and serve. He was the president of the Enlisted Spouses Club, where he showed out. He was known as Mr. Ramstein. Very popular, and I love it though, because I don't like to do a whole lot of talking at social events. I'm not socially awkward. It's just
right.
It's not my preference.
Right.
But he is quite the chatterbox and the socialite, so I love it. He balances me out.
Yeah.
We have 3 beautiful children, Luke, Mackenzie, and Natalie. And Natalie is finishing up her senior year right now, which is one of the reasons why I got out of the military, because I was like, I cannot let this go by, because I missed way too many moments throughout the year. So yeah. Over to you, sis. That's a little bit.
Yeah. That little bit is enough for us to like pull from, because I'm like, all right, so we've got Chad. Hey, Chad, how you doing? He says, my sister from another Mr. Hey, Charmaine, AKA Nikki. Okay.
Yeah. You got to be from Columbia, South Carolina, or at least been around my family. And yes, Chad is my brother from another Mr. But also, he's my fellow Thompson Blue brother. So if y'all
we're going to talk about that too.
Come on now.
Listen, I'm telling you, you have had a full career, and starting from the place where you were with the last place, you kind of went through that. Well, the first time you served as a command chief was at Ramstein, and that being overseas. So your first, opportunity to serve out the gate was overseas.
To serve, but not as a command chief. My first opportunity to serve as a command chief was at the 437th Airlift Wing at Charleston.
So you went into the military as an Airman Basic.
Correct.
At Ramstein.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So that is something in itself, because I know your story about how you enter into the military and then having to get stationed overseas. So can you tell the audience a little bit about the pre, and then maybe the feelings that you had of going overseas for the very first time?
Okay. Yeah. So the pre, Rochelle, girl.
Yeah, I know.
All right. So the reason why I came in the military was because of my brother. Those who know me know that my brother, Anthony Reardon, I love to say his name now, and I'm just recently saying it within the last maybe month, and maybe like last 2 months, maybe, because it was kind of something that I wasn't dealing with head on. And when you get out of the military, you have nothing but time to think.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did join the Air Force because of him. My brother, he was active duty Navy. And, I tell people this story. He came home on leave. We didn't know who was at the door. My mom was like, who's at the door? And she was like, go, Nikki, go see who's at the door. Nikki is my name in South Carolina, but I don't really want y'all to meet her, because, that's a different person.
Different person.
Think of me differently. But she was like, Nikki, go get the door. So we both ended up going to the door. It was my brother. Get to the door. And, we were all excited to see him. That's my oldest brother. If you're a younger sibling, you know that feeling of how that older sibling treats you. Anyway, I remember him coming around the corner, and you would think that I would have carried this lesson with me for the rest of my career, but I didn't. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And that is being in the moment. Mm-hmm. And so my brother, he came around the corner. He tried on his little new outfit. He was clean. I mean, sharp, y'all. Where I come from, they used to put the jeans in the cleaners and have them so pressed that you could stand up by themselves.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, well, that's what he had on. He had the shirt was pressed, the pants were pressed, and he had on his orange vest. Anyway, my mom said, look like you're going to go save somebody's life. Anyway, he was like, Nikki, come on, take a picture. And I was like, nah, Nikki, come take a picture. No, man. Nikki, come take a picture. He said it to me 3 times. And I said, no, my hair is not done. Anyway, I went out of town that next day, and I think that was a Monday. And then that following day, I called home and I was told that he had been killed. Mm-hmm. And the Navy officer was at my house. And as we were writing the obituary, we were writing the obituary, I remember them writing beside his name E2. And I was like, well, what's that? And he was like, that's a rank. And I said, well, what was the highest he could have gone? And they said E9. And I was like, okay. And so when I got to the funeral that next day, I remember walking up to the casket. He was in his Navy uniform, you know, it looked like he was at such peace. And, you know, I was young. I was 15. And I leaned over his casket and I said to him, I said, Anthony, I'm going to finish your journey for you. And so I always knew that I was going to go in the military and become an E9. I did not know that I was going to become a chief until I met one. And I can't say that I was a chief for everybody that came into my path. You know, I got some right and I got some wrong. You know, so if there's anybody out there that I got it wrong with, you know, I wish that I could have done more, you know, but tag, you're it. It's your turn, you know, for whoever that's left out there, you're it. It's your turn. All of the things that may or may not have gone the way that you desired them to be. I had a pretty bad supervisor moving into my first assignment, y'all. I remember her. I remember her.
I remember her. She probably remember you too, Queen.
She probably does, honey. Because let me tell you, I was about 110 pounds, maybe. Had me a good little 6-pack. Oh yeah, I was that girl showing up at the doggone gym and PT, you know, because once you get older, you're like, you know, you don't need to put that on, right? You don't need to dress like that. Let me tell you, honey, I was up in that gym. I mean, just showing out, doing the most, right? We had PT. That was before we had to wear PT gear, right?
Right.
I got on the little halter top with my 6-pack out, you know, woo, like while I'm doing all that, right? But anyway. But instead of her taking me under her wing, this lady decided to just get jealous and she showed it. But the one thing she could not say was that I was not a hard worker. I've been a hard worker from the time that I came in the military all the way through the finish line, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, because perhaps I should have slowed down and started my transition as I had gotten out. But yeah, so she, I remember I was in A1C and this guy named Senior Airman Wood. Man, I loved my senior airmen back in the day. They really took ownership of what the word senior meant. Yeah. They took ownership of that. Like we didn't play with our senior airmen when we came in.
Oh no.
There was
absolutely not. It was very clear who was in control and who you need to listen to, because I was like, she or he is not playing. So
correct. Because let me tell you, I'm a finish with Sergeant. What's her name? But I know what her name is. I just don't say it. But anyway, but Senior Airman Wood one day over the weekend, Friday, I took my tape, right? And I was like, it was a desk that looked like this. And back then it was old, right? And I took the tape and I was going around and around the desk and around the desk. He said, what you doing? I said, I'm taping my desk. And he said, what you doing that for? I said, because I don't want nobody in my desk. He looked at me. He said, there ain't none of your doggone desk. This is the government's desk. Take that off of there. And he said it in a different set of words. Right. And I went backwards and reversed.
That's right.
Took it right on off. Because they didn't play that, right? So anyway, but I did work hard. Like I said, I was an extremely hard worker. But I remember him saying to me, because while he saw some of the stupid stuff that I had done, he still knew that I was giving everything that I had to give. So he said to me one day, he was like, you should be up for below the zone. I said, what's that? He said, go ask your supervisor. Because, you know, senior airmen back in the day used to be old. So I go over there to Sergeant Davis. Oh, I go over there to her. And I said, there are a million Davises in the world.
There are 1,001.
I mean, I
So
could have said over there,
we don't know who you're talking about.
Right. I went over there to Sergeant Smith, Sergeant Lee, I don't know, whatever the name was. So I go over there and I was like, Senior Airman Wood said I should be eligible for below the zone. Let me tell you, Rochelle, this is no exaggeration. She slow looked me from the crown of my head to the sole of my feet, brought her eyes back up, looked at me and said, you're not below the zone material.
Girl.
And walked away. Because that's how they rolled back in the day. But let me tell you something. When something is for you, no one can come in the way.
No
Somehow I had gotten positioned to be with the right people who saw the potential.
That's
right.
And
baby, when they came out and said that I was your next senior airman below the zone,
right,
I didn't take that lightly, you know, and it did, you know, humble me, and I didn't take it lightly because, like, I could have been that person who had a supervisor that stopped them from being able to, you know, move forward to what they really did deserve. Because nobody's coming in the military or any other job on a civilian job perfect. None of us were given a guide. You know?
Yeah.
I
mean, you know, the story from your brother to your first base to your first supervisor, you know, it all ties in. When you say hard work, hard ethic, and you said the reason you went in is because you wanted to be an E9. He was an E2. Right. And I think at that point, you know, when you have something to work towards, you know, you were determined that nothing was going to get in your way from getting to that goal. You know, so there are pains. There's always struggles. There's always someone or somebody's who are, you know, preventing you from getting after your goal. Is what are you doing to navigate through that? And it seemed to me like Nikki wasn't playing. Okay. Nikki had her own way of doing things. And so, you know.
But you know what? While Nikki wasn't playing, I think what happened was, you know, I feel like the right people were placed around me. Shirley Harmon. Shirley Harmon was a tech sergeant. I'll never forget. Oh man, it's so cool. Shirley Harmon was my very first mentor in the Air Force. She was a technical sergeant who was the executive assistant to the 86th Airlift Wing Command Chief.
Wow.
So the very person who mentored me, I ended up going and sitting in that seat that she had prepared for me to be in.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Listen, we talked about it earlier. This is all determined, right? It's like God had already ordered our steps to where we needed to be. We just needed to pay attention, right? When you start to pay attention to what was happening, you could see things were being shifting towards, okay, here's the next position, here's the next group of people, here's, you know, your next mission. And then you're able to get to that. Then you get to the next and you're like, wow. But then you can connect the dots. You go back and you look, I know how I got here.
I know how I got here.
I know how I got here. This is not by accident. All right. At all. It's not luck. There's nothing to do with any of that. Right. We've got people here on Facebook that are just blowing up. First of all, we got our brother up in here, Keith. Okay. So Casey up in here, and he already put, you know, nobody. He's responding to some of the things that we have already said. Kim has said she was thankful that you were sharing Anthony with us. And she said, that's right. What God has for us is for you. And Keith said, ordered and delivered. Okay.
Ordered and delivered. Hot.
Ordered and delivered.
Hot. Like Pizza Hut, baby.
That's right.
Come on.
You know, so when people ask me a lot about, you know, how did I get to, you know, the position of command chief? And, you know, I kind of share with them a little bit about the journey, but I'm going to ask you about yours, you know, because command chief and Kim's on here, Keith's on here. We know the territory for which that is, and that is something that you don't really prepare for. You just in this highly coveted role, and there's a lot of responsibilities for a lot of different things that you had no clue until you get in there. So if you could just like share with us a little bit about maybe some lessons learned, some takeaways, maybe, something that another command chief or a potential aspiring command chief may deal with or come. And we talked a little bit about it before, but I just want your take.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So let me first start off by saying this. I didn't get there on my own, right?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody can navigate this on their own, right?
No.
At all. You need to have someone. And for me, the person who first started, molding me into, not who they wanted me to be, but the highest potential of what I could be. Right. Was that Shirley Harmon. But her husband, Eric Harmon, he was just moving through the ranks. And I remember him saying to me one day, and by this time I was a senior airman, I remember him saying to me, I was complaining about something else, complaining about something, and you ain't gonna believe what you did to me this time, right? He looked at me and he said, you know what? You're gonna have to learn which fish to fry and which fish to throw back. Okay. And I was very young when he said that to me, So I think about that time and I remembered that, right? And I was what, 20? So that was about what, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
So yeah,
you said 15 years. Okay, Queen. Listen, we be doing the math in here. I know y'all be doing the math too, but she got it right 15 years ago. Okay,
wait a minute. You said 15. but
right.
Just saying how long ago that was, right? That I still remember that quote from him, and that just kind of stuck with me because like not everything is a big deal, not everything is worth fighting for or over. You know what I'm saying? You got to figure out which ones to go. And so I think I know that helped me along my journey for sure, because they PCS, they move on. The one thing that I've never been afraid to do was to call somebody and ask them if they could take me under their wings. I've seen, the result of people, instead of them asking someone to take them under their wings, they decide to get jealous and become enemies to that person. Not me. If I saw you winning, I'm about
I was like, how are you winning over here? I need your help.
Master Sergeant Downs, that was my second station. There was this young lady who was winning everything. You probably know her, Sonia Thompson. She went on to do amazing things. This girl was business, right? And so her supervisor, it was a superintendent at the time. I saw how much he was pouring into her. So one day I went to his office and I was like, hey, Sergeant Downs, what y'all doing to be winning all this stuff in here?
Right.
What, like, and I was a senior airman, you know what I'm saying? Because I believe that closed mouths, it doesn't get fed, right? And so he was like, oh, girl, it's easy. Here's the formula. And then when he told me what the formula was, I carried that with me from senior airman all the way through to command, a 3-time command chief. And which then what I
absolutely incredible.
So finding that mentorship, being humble enough to say that you cannot do it on your own, and then being willing for people to check you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to see where it's coming from. If it's coming from a place of love, take that thing and come on, keep moving. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what people did along my journey. I had the Trey Kings, you know her. Who knows me?
That's the mama. If you weren't connected to Trey, I don't know what to tell y'all. But I mean, I give her flowers all day, every day. We were at Langley together, and she was the command chief at that time. And it is so important when you see someone that represents you
Right.
And then not only that, but extend the hand of,
Yes.
hey, we need to sit down, we need to talk. Like, what you trying to do?
Yep.
And when she said, what you trying to do? And I, disclosed, she said, okay, this is what you need to do, right?
Yes.
And some of the feedback can be a little hard to take in,
It
but
is.
she had been there.
Yeah.
She knew, right? So I'm with you. If it's coming from a place of love, we should take that and just see like there's something to it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And you can't be, I mean, in that particular role, I have seen people with the egos, and they get a little bit of the power and they have the authority to do this or that, and using it for, their own selfish reasons and not for the greater good. It does something to the individual.
Yeah.
It changed them. And that was one of the things that I didn't want to see for myself. I didn't want to change into something that I wasn't.
Yeah. Oh, let me tell you. Yes.
you know
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's so, there's so many different lessons. We have had many opportunities to be challenged as leaders. And I know leadership is one of those principles that people just throw around and people use, I don't know what their idea of it, but we have lived experiences. So, what are some of your, maybe top two or three leadership principles that have guided you and still continue to guide you now that you are retired? Okay. So, what is that for you now?
Um, a leadership principle, well, three of them that guides me. I don't know if I have three, but I do know, number one, make sure you're staying grounded, right?
Mhm.
It can be quite hard to stay grounded when you start to believe the hype of it all. Because a lot of
Mm.
people ask me, "Do you miss it at all?" I'm
Yeah.
like, "No," because this
Right.
thing was not real. It was never real to me.
You said it wasn't real to you.
I
You
never That
said
was never real to me. People standing up when I walk in the room, or me not having to wait in the lobby, or I always told myself, while I enjoyed it, let me make sure I make that clear. I always knew that it wasn't mine. It didn't belong to me. You know,
right.
that didn't
Right.
belong to me. That belonged to the position, right? And also, like, that became, or I've seen it become who people are. That never defined me. I stayed Charmaine Kelley. You know what I'm saying? Even when I would get lost in the mix, like, oh man, I gotta dress a certain way, or I'm so glad to be able to wear my hoops, girl, because I like
Listen.
to wear my hoops.
Right.
Let it be me. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
As long as I look good and I look clean, like, I don't always want to wear pearls. And I
Yeah.
don't always want to wear my suit up to here. You know
You're
what I'm
right.
saying? Like, that
Yes.
ain't me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that was one of those things that was kind of hard for me in those social events because I was uncomfortable. My feet
Yeah.
were hurting. I felt like I was choking.
You said the feet were hurting,
You
girl.
know what I'm
When
saying?
your feet hurt and your whole body hurt, you
Right.
just be like, I'm checked out. I
Yeah,
don't even want to know.
right. So that's one thing. And then I think another big one for me is be in the moment. So if I
Mm,
go back to the story of my brother Anthony, and I could not stop and pause and take that picture because my hair wasn't done. And remember, I said that, like, as I look back, especially during my command chief time, I think I remember more as a tech sergeant and below, and as a master sergeant and below, than I remember as a command chief, because I would always, like,
mm,
doing all of these new, the enlisted summits. You got
sure.
thousands of people doing this stuff, putting on all of these big events and stuff. And I'm so in it, so detailed, so, that I want this thing to come out magnificent, and it does.
Mm-hmm.
But then when people be like, "Do you remember that day we something, something?" And I
Yeah,
don't remember it
I know, Queen.
because I wasn't in the moment,
No.
you know?
Yeah. Well, there were so many it's complex, right? When you have layers and layers of conversations and you have to make decisions, and then you're going to different environments, it changed from 1 minute to the next. It was hard to keep track.
Yeah.
You can only hold so much. You only have so much capacity. And so when people used to come up to me and tell me that they were stationed with me at a different base and I just couldn't remember, I would tell my husband, I'm like, man, my memory is just so bad. Like, I can't remember a thing. I don't remember this person. And they're like, and he tries to recall, he tries to help me. And I say, I still can't remember. It's because we were in a fog, right? When you are so into the mission and wanting to do a good job, we knew we were operating in excellence every day. It was just a matter of trying to, pace yourself. There was no space. There was no space to really think things through. So I understand that completely.
Yeah.
We've got, Vanny's on, and I think this is Vanity. She's on the YouTube side. She said that's a word. It belonged to the position when you were talking about, how people just got so wrapped up into the title and the position, and they were moving like that. And you were saying it never belonged to you in the first place. So, it's just, that is just something that a lot of people can still, I know there are people who have a problem. They're challenged with understanding that. We've got Chevy there. Chevy, thank you so much for being here live with us as well. Facebook, y'all holding it down over there. Okay, so Glenn Roy said 3-time command chief master sergeant. She has a legitimate heavyweight boxing record at the command chief rank. Okay, so he wanted to give you your flowers on that.
Thank you.
Kim said she sure does. And Keith said punching above her weight class. Okay. Kim, okay, she's got a question for you. So we'll go to her question first before we move on. She said, how do you let your yes be your yes and your no be your no, especially in all those leadership roles, uniform, and now in your new chapter in retirement?
I think there's a season for your no's being your no, right? And I'll say that it's a season because when you're in the position of a command chief, like, let's be honest, you are an advisor. I never say the word just, because a lot of things that, if you got a really good partner, like I had a fantastic partner, couple fantastic partners, you know what I'm saying? One person I'll give a shout out to, I can't name them all, but one person I'll give a shout out to is General Otis C. Jones. He's the person who was the officiator of my retirement ceremony. So that's why he is the reason why I don't say just.
Yes.
Because when I say that I had a partner, General Jones was a partner. Like, no kidding, there was nothing. And he did not allow anybody to try and slide anything past his command chief. As he called it. I was fortunate enough to even kick it off with Colonel Yaron Root, having him, like, he literally saw me as his partner. And then, finishing it up with Major General Daniel DeVoe, just having people that are, they're your partners, but at the end of the day, don't get it twisted. They do still have the final say so.
Yeah, that's right.
So in those positions, you just have to know what your role is and you have to be okay with it. Now, I'm just gonna spit some truth here.
That's right. Let's go.
When you are ready to move out of that space and your no and your yes is no longer, the pushing down of your yes and your no is no longer good enough for you, it's time for you to leave. And so, because for me, I feel like there is a time and a place for everything. And I don't mind, because the word sergeant does mean to serve, right? You're there to do that, right? I served in my capacity as an advisor, and that's what I was there to do. But there came a point in my career towards the end where I just heard a voice within me that said, it is time for you to come out of the shadows. And when I was ready to step from out of the shadows, which was that moment, because I felt it,
Yeah.
where I wanted my yes to be my yes and my no to be my no, because I said so. And that's how I was being guided, not from another person.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying? And so
Yep.
it was time for me to move out because there were things that I needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so now when I say yes, my yes is my yes. And when I
Your
say
yes is your
no,
yes.
my no is my no. Okay.
And I'll say this, the freedom to do that,
Yeah.
you can't get this. It's like priceless,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I get it. We are not bashing our
Right.
service of any
Mhm.
shape, form, or fashion. We just knew, okay, when we were done, we were done.
Correct.
And it was time for us to do something else. We're still in service now,
Right.
y'all. We still serving in our own unique way,
Yeah.
but you have to stand 10 toes down on what you believe in and convicted on.
Correct.
And when you can do that consistently, something in your gut always tells you it's yes or it's a no.
That's right.
And there's no going back and forth, trying to figure out, like, let me just, like,
How do I say this? How can I say
you know,
this? I gotta say this the right way.
because
Listen.
no is a full sentence. All right.
Yeah.
If I say no, there's no explanation. I'm not trying to tell you why I'm picking no or why I'm
Right.
even picking yes. So I understand, like, Kim, that was a great question for us to talk through.
Mm-hmm.
Jeba is watching too. Hey, Queen. So she's listening in, and Keith said agreed, but I say the idiom is based on man's expectations. So, which, Keith, you're going to bring up something that we're probably going to be talking through, and he said can't be bought. Okay, can't be bought. So I know that this is something that we could probably talk through all night. We've got her name is Giovanni, who's actually on YouTube. I thought it was Vanity, but it is Giovanni, and she's so glad to be witnessing the conversation. So many gems. Thank you so much, Queen, for being here and for listening in as well. We appreciate
Absolutely.
you. You got a question, you just ask away, and we'll get to. Okay, so Kim said, if you don't have to explain your yes, you shouldn't have to explain your no. I love this.
Period.
Yeah,
Yeah.
period.
I agree. But let me say this though, in
Yeah,
case
yeah.
anybody watches, because I want to make sure that I'm emphasizing that there is a time and a place for everything. There's a
That's
season, right?
There's a season.
I was telling somebody that, when you're out of season, you should be able to feel it. And this is what I mean by that. When the spring comes, you're no longer walking around in a fur coat.
Nope.
Because if you're walking around in a fur coat during the spring, now your body gets overheated. People are looking at you crazy because that fur coat is out of season.
Out of season.
And so I'm going to tell you this. If you are still serving and you are in that space, then you need to be in that space and be okay with being in that space, because like, don't get it twisted what I was saying when I was saying, when my no and my yes, when that time had come, because while you're in there, you got to know what your role is.
That's right.
If your role is to support, then be the support. That's almost like the usher trying to be the pastor in the church. You're not the pastor. Go there and man the door and be the best usher you can be. And when it's time for you to move and open up your own church and be the pastor, then you go and be the pastor.
Oh, Lord, where my fan at? Y'all, you better get your church fans out here, okay? Because Charmaine over there preaching.
I mean, what I'm just saying, like,
it is.
And I mean, and it's just, and that's just used as a metaphor,
That's
like,
right.
if you are an airman, or if you are, at whatever it doesn't even have to be in the military. Whatever position you in, play that position.
That's right.
Learn everything that you can learn from that position. And then that way, when you move forward, you're ready.
You ready.
When somebody says, tag, you're it. You heard me say that earlier. I said, tag, you're it, meaning it's your turn. And now that it's your turn, have you done the things in the space that you were in to be able to be prepared for this moment?
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, and I'm glad that you clarified and went in like that, because, you know, sometimes people take it as, well, they done said we just need to get on out, and
Right on.
we cutting bait right now. I'm gonna go ahead and retire today. You know, it's like, that's not what
Sit
we're
down.
saying. That's
Be
not
humble.
what we're saying. Yeah. You
Don't,
know,
don't we are not telling
us.
you to retire today, because you know what? Just like this weather right here is still cold, maybe it's still time for you to have that fur coat on.
That's right.
Because it might still be your season. So be in that moment.
And yeah, I had my coat on today. So I was like, it's cold out here still. Okay, Glenroy says, sometimes we try to lighten the load of our yes and no's because we want people to like us. We have to get to a point where we're not concerned about who likes us, but have concern about whether we are serving intentionally, correctly, and with grace. Amen to that. Thank you, Glenroy, for putting that in there, because you're right. And Faith said Faith is here. So Debbie, you watch it in, Queen. Okay, she said, this is phenomenal dialogue. Love the gems you are all dropping. Thank you, Queen, for being here.
Yeah.
He said, lock the door, lock the door. He embarrassed. And Ken said, have you done the things to be prepared for this moment? Okay, because you're right. And you know, when you talk about the seasons, you know, sometimes we get ahead of ourselves. All right. We see something and we think it's for us right now. And it's not.
Ooh, yes.
And then you get in there and you don't do it the way it's supposed to be done, right? Because you weren't seasoned or marinated, or, you know, had the reps. I talk about the reps all the time. Those cycling reps of doing something over and over and over again. There was so many lessons that I got in there, because I'll be looking at a rank. I'll be like, I'm ready for that. Like, good. People have the talent getting, you know, promoted to that rank, and I can go in there and do something about it. But when I got in there, I was like, wait a minute. You know, I didn't know it was going to be this intense or at this level. But you know what? I should, you know, when you just got to be, you know, when you ask for something and you're not ready for it, it can play out differently. All right. So sometimes you've got to stay in the saddle and go through that before you get to the next, because you want to be able to serve, you know, well. We've got Vanny. Okay, so Giovanni, you over here really giving us a lot to think about. Okay, so obedience. How you operate in your current capacity really does play a role in your future position. Okay, yes. Yes. And then she said, Chief Master Sergeant retired. Charmaine Kelley, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
After a full career leading airmen and carrying the weight of that responsibility, how did your faith shape the way you made decisions when no one else?
When no one else, was that the end of the?
Yeah, I think it said when no one else would, or when no one else. Oh, here we go. When no one else was in the room to guide you.
Oh, okay, gotcha. She said, so my faith, how did my faith guide me?
Yeah, how did your faith shape the way you made decisions when no one else was in the room to guide you?
I always knew when I was out of alignment. You know, when she says your faith, how did your faith shape you? I always knew when I was out of alignment. I knew that I was out of alignment. I always felt it. I always felt it. Very few people have been able to be in my space, and it's gone undetected if they weren't supposed to be surrounded around me.
Girl.
You know, and a couple have slipped through, but it was because I was out of alignment, you know, and I wasn't relying upon my faith. I was relying upon Charmaine Kelley instead of my faith, right?
That's right.
When those people slipped through and they gave me HELL, Uh,
Yes, I did.
when I didn't know it, behind the back, or times that I did not know. But here's the good thing about my faith. My faith
Mm.
always allowed it to come to light.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so whenever I would pray, and whenever I would be in alignment, things definitely were more clear to me. But when I
Yeah.
was out of alignment, I just felt off balance, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
always felt off balance whenever, but I wouldn't be in the moment because I was going so fast. So I
Yeah.
didn't know that I was off balance until I looked back.
Yeah. You're talking to the gift of discernment,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So when we were able to see the signals and feel the signals right away,
Yeah.
we can read people. We could read situations. And I think that played a part in our role as well when you talked about that. Because, and every now and again, one or two people kind of slip in and
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
how you get in here and why you messing with me? And it was because
Yeah.
something was happening where we were operating from information and not from insight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So our intuition always kicks in. And I think
Yeah.
that a lot of times people need to be able to recognize that.
Yeah.
They need to be able to recognize that. And then she also has a follow-on question for you. Looking back on your career, do you think God was shaping you for your leadership long before you ever put on chief stripes?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
100%. Why? Because I always had those people. When I was little, I was 10 years old. Um, and I was in church,
Mm-hmm.
and some people came and they prayed over me.
Yeah.
And one lady in particular, she looked at me and she said, "Nikki, you are a leader.
Mm.
You are a leader." And
Yeah.
she went on to say more words to me. I didn't quite know how to like make that happen, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
So when I went in the military, oh, this is funny. So if you were at my retirement ceremony, I had TIs to come, and this is how we opened it up. I had on civilian clothes. The TIs came running out. I had my bags and everything, but there was this one TI in particular. Her name was Janelle Wright.
Mm-hmm.
She and I had an encounter in basic training for real, for real. She was a TI,
Mm-hmm.
one of the TIs,
Yeah.
and I was in my head because when I was 10, I was told I was a leader.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
So I decided to go toe to toe with her because
Oh.
in that moment I was in charge because I was
Oh.
the dorm chief.
There you go.
Man,
She about to give you the biz. She gave you the business.
woo, yeah, the TIs were different back then.
That's
Um,
right.
she was the only person that shook me up. That was
Yeah.
the only person. But even in that moment, what I was learning and being shaped as a leader is that being a leader doesn't always mean you're in the leadership role at that moment.
Right. Right.
Being a leader sometimes means that you're being quiet and
Right.
listening and learning,
Yes.
you know? And
Yeah.
so I've had to do that and be shaped along the way, you know what I'm saying? And I'm
Yeah.
still being shaped, now that I'm in the civilian world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at people like you. I'm
Yeah.
looking at people like Keith Castile.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Kimberly Pollard so that I can learn. I have to literally learn how to be a civilian all
Yeah.
over. So
Yeah.
yes, all the way leading up, there were things that were molding me, shaping me. People who were molding me and shaping me to make sure. And here's the thing: they didn't always look like me.
That.
Sometimes people think that you have to, oh, I need another Black woman in order for me
Mm-hmm.
to be shaped and molded. No, ma'am.
Yeah.
That's not all that you need. You need everybody because that's what gives you the different perspectives.
Yes.
Catch your blind
Agree.
spots. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, but now that I'm on the civilian world, I believe that everything that has led up to this point
Mm-hmm.
is what has prepared me to step out into where I'm going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, it's almost like a natural progression.
Yeah.
It's not going to be hard to
Right.
get back on track and, to do things that you were similarly doing and getting in that battle rhythm of being in business and being a leader from your own journey and taking that to the next level. And I think that's the beauty of what we were able to accomplish throughout our careers. And even so, I think that any veteran is already set up to be their own boss, to be their own, a CEO. If you're CEO of your life, you could be CEO of your business. Okay. Right. Because we had to make a lot of pivots when we were in the military, and that's what you have to do in business too, so it can come natural. I do have some, y'all just be, listen, they just carrying our conversation. Now, I don't know how much time you got on the back end, but I'm good over here. But I don't know. They
can ask whatever they want to. I'm out of the military.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, Keith said, question. In the retirement lanes, you are bringing your prior talents to this new stage. There's so much advice people out there give. How are you navigating all the advice that's out here as you build the new you on this side of the world?
So contrary to what people may believe that they have to do, I do the opposite. I don't go to everybody. I don't go to everybody.
My clapper. Let me get this clapper up here, because this right here, we about to take it to a whole nother level of conversation. Okay.
I don't go to everybody, because while there are some people with the knowledge and the information, you got to remember, not all knowledge and information comes for free, right? Because it's so many people out there. That's why I wrote a book, right? It's like, it doesn't have to be hard, so don't make it. And it's the foundations of building a business. I wrote that book because I reached out to so many people when I had gotten out of the military. Well, how do I do this part? How do I do this part? Okay, how do I? And sometimes there were people that would just tell you bits and pieces, knowing that there's a major piece that needs to be added, right? Like, okay, if you're going to get these government contracts, you need to be a part of, you know what I'm saying? Like, you need to be a part of different organizations, right? Or different groups. You need this, right? Like Sam. Okay, what is Sam? Like, okay, but nobody telling you this stuff, right? So you know what? I'd rather do without you and build the book so that those who are coming behind me do not have to do the struggle, than to sit there and go and beg for information. There's too much information out there. There are too many people out there who wants to help you. Trey King said to me one time, oh, that felt weird saying Trey King. I always call her auntie. But she said to me one time, she said, niece, don't you worry about proving the people wrong who does not believe in you. Yeah. You worry about proving the people right who does. The only people you should be focusing on are the people who believes in you, the people who are trying to pour into you. And stop always thinking that somebody is out to get you. Ain't nobody out to get you. Ain't nobody got time to be thinking about you.
They ain't thinking about us, not one bit.
No one's thinking about you. Ain't nobody in competition with you. Move on, right? There is so that this table literally stretches from one end of the earth to the other. Let's eat. Everybody.
Let's eat. Everybody's eating.
Okay. Find what you are good at.
That's right.
And get to nibbling. Okay. One bite at a time. One bite at a time.
Oh, Lord. Keith, you should be asking these kind of questions out here.
That's real.
Listen, because I'm just saying, gatekeeping. Okay. That's what I'm calling gatekeeping.
For what?
It's like you have information that would be useful. Yeah. And if you see me out here, doing something, be like, hey, Queen, all right, let's talk about this over here. I'm good, but don't come at me talking about you don't know what I'm doing, or I'm hearing, 2 and 3 people that don't have nothing to do with what I got going on. Talk about what my business. I'm minding my own business over here. All right. But if you're not willing to share, I ain't got time for all that. Correct. It's just nonsense out here. Okay. So I'm with you. It's like not all this information out here is necessary. We are all been people have been assigned to us that we like hear our voice, hear
Right.
what we're speaking to. And there is, I don't know how many people are on the world today, Aaron, throughout the world.
Yeah.
Billions,
Yeah.
gazillion people in the world,
Yeah.
So I'm not even trying to worry about that stuff.
Right.
Okay, so Glenroy says seasoning burns when it has not had the proper time to sit and marinate. Okay, so this is what we were talking about seasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Life teaches us this on many levels, and I agree. So he has another one, and it says knowing when you are out of alignment is paramount when
Mm-hmm.
you are a leader. We have
Mm-hmm.
those things, people, and situations that allow us to see and how out of alignment we are. As long as we know when we get out of alignment before we drift completely off the path, it is important to stay the course with prayer and supplication.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah, we having church today, so I hope that you brought your Bibles and have your have your listening ears on. Okay,
Yeah.
Kim said, "Being the leader does not always mean you're in the leadership role." So true. Key said, "Look, you got me tap dancing with my Sunday shoes. Take the wheel." He a mess. Okay. D is watching. Hey, Queen. D
Maybe.
Mosley's here, so she's watching in. Thank you so much for dropping in. Um, Prove your supporters right. I needed to hear that this Sunday evening. Amen. And Kim said, that's good. The people that are for you, clapping for you, cheering for you, holding a chair out for you, waste no minutes on the other stuff. And she also said, that's right. If I have to be that tall to ride that ride, it is not for me.
It is not for me.
Okay. So then Vanny, you over here too, Queen. She said, amen. Leaders observe, learn, and serve first. And she also agreed, you've had an extraordinary career, touched so many lives, mentored and developed so many amazing airmen and service members alike. Keep being great and God bless you.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen. This has been so good. Okay, so let's just keep on with this business thing. All right. So, you now are executive director and founder of About You Today.
That's right.
So, can you tell us the origin? What is the focus? Who are you trying to serve in this next chapter, Queen?
Yeah. So if you were at the first part of the interview, I talked about why I came into the military. So that wasn't even about me, right? When my father passed away, a couple days after the funeral, I was on the plane headed to go and take over as the command chief of the 86th Airlift Wing. And what people didn't know was, my family found me balled up in a corner, just bawling like uncontrollably, because that was not about me as well. I did not make that about me. Right. And then you take care of all of your airmen and you take care of all of your people, some grateful, some not, but you keep going. Right. And that wasn't about me. And then that day that I told you that I had this sense of it's time for me to come from out of the shadows. And I knew that that day was about me. And so we're told so much that, hey, this is not about you. You're a servant, you're a sergeant, you're this, stand to the back. Da, 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 da. Where do we stand as enlisted people? Behind an officer, right? This is not about you.
Yeah.
I've been in situations where we're going to see all of the enlisted, ain't nothing but enlisted people there. And an officer said to me, they want to hear from the commander. Do they?
You said, do they?
Do they? Like the whole time? Like, you mean to tell me they don't want to hear from their senior enlisted person at all? I don't know what that, to me, that don't sound right. But anyway, again, you're being told it is not about you. So when as I started transitioning, like that came to my head. Charmaine, as you transition, this is going to be about you today. And so what I do is I pour into all others, reminding them that although you are in the military, there are points where you need to make it about you. I needed to grieve and take that time to grieve for my dad.
Yeah.
because I did not make that about me, because I needed to be strong for the next person. And I knew that there was a gap at the 86 Airlift Wing and I needed to get back there. I made that moment not about me. That's not selfish.
Yeah.
That's actually insane to keep moving on when you know that you have not done the work here.
Mm.
And so, or like as I was transitioning out of the military, something I told you we would get back to.
Yeah.
I ran all the way through the finish line. Nobody can say that I quit before it was time. I don't encourage anyone to quit, but there are some things that I'm like, you know, instead of me sitting here and staying until doing some ridiculous stuff towards the end, I should have been going to my medical appointments.
Mm-hmm.
I should have been making sure that my insurance was good to go. Because at the end, my SGLI was like, okay, thanks, boo. Deuces. Thank you for all the money that you paid me. And now I had to start over. And I'm older, which means my premiums are higher. You know? Or I want to start a business. Why in the world did I not start building my website while I was in, when I had all of the money to be able to pay for all of this stuff? Because it is not inexpensive to build these businesses. So when you wait until you get out of the military to try and start from scratch with something that you could have started 2 or 3 years out, and then you could have just taken that pause during your terminal leave and then rolled on into it, baby. Yes, I see you are in agreement. You
painting the whole picture, all right, the whole storyline. What were we thinking? What were we doing? You know?
But you're fancy though, Rochelle. Let me tell you, you knew how to do your hair. Thank God he sent me Deb. She doesn't even know Cole. She was on here earlier. She's probably not on here now. But he sent her to me, and she doesn't even know it.
Oh, really?
I didn't even know how to do my hair, because for the last 29 years, mine was snatched in a bun.
That's right.
And this girl helped me to transition, and she don't even know that she was being used. You know what I'm saying? Not by me, but by a guy. Help me to learn how to transition. So I'm understanding this new generation. I see these new generations of queens. I see Jeba out there. I see just a bunch of them. Deb, it's a group of them. Gabadon. Like, I see a group of these girls out there. Like, they're out there and they have on their beautiful gowns. They're looking so pretty. And I'm just like, I'm so proud of them, because like they are staying true to who they are. So when they transition, they're going to be able to walk out there with their stilettos on.
Listen. And stomp on this ground and get after what they have been dreaming of doing.
Yes.
And I think our generation, just like right at the cusp of doing that.
Yeah.
But I think the beauty of where we're at, because you're right on all the things. Like, we could have had 2 or 3 years before we transition. Could have really spent some time to reflect on how we wanted to move, right? And I think because we were so dedicated, so loyal, so committed to the mission because of decades of service, that's just what you did. We could not see beyond. I know I could not see beyond. It took a matter of, okay, I gotta sit down, walk around in the neighborhood trying to figure this thing out. And and it really is dependent on where you go. I think the DMV is one of the areas where you can get a pick-me-up, okay? Because this is fast moving out here, baby. I mean, like, if you don't, get on a track, you just be like, well, what is happening out here? But it allows you to see that there's people around us that are very inspirational, that are, out there lending a hand, who are showing up. And I think that's the key. Even we don't know what we're doing, we still go show up in our own way at the right places, because you can be going 1,000 miles. And I knew I didn't want to be doing a lot of that like I was doing in the military with no space. I needed space.
Yeah.
in between the, events and the places that you have to go to. But you touch on so many different things that I think a lot of us experience, where we just said, we're going to start a business. These things cost money.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so where am I get this money from? And it takes a minute
Yeah.
for you to get it established. So, okay, so oh my goodness, it's y'all in here. Keith says, such amazing insight tonight, y'all. Ken said, I'm glad I tuned in tonight. I needed this tune up. Deb said, or D said, tell it. Okay. And then Deb said, you all pay the way for us, and we are grateful and still watching y'all.
Oh.
And then Kim said, yes, they do. I love all of them. So proud of them. They're the leaders folks are looking up to now. She put down Jeba, Chantel, Faith, and so she tagged them. Okay, Glenroy said, I tell youngsters all the time, you matter to the military until you don't. Okay, in the military, we are trained, walking, talking, working numbers, void of emotions. Even while he was fed into himself by finishing a degree that he wanted, not what was expected or what my peers and supervision thought I should have done. So, we do get into, well, what are they going to think if we do something different or out of sorts? And I remember people having businesses while they were serving. I was like, how does that work? I don't know if you could do those two things at the same time. Like, I would be that person to be questioning. Like, you should be fully committed to the military. Why you got this business? How dumb is that? You know what I mean? It was the ignorance of me not understanding and knowing, because I was just so ate up. Okay, so Giovanni said, same. She didn't grieve after her mom passed. She chose to be strong for her team and was a senior airman. Woof, I learned a lot about how to take up space, let my presence be known, and take care of me.
Because it's about you today, Giovanni.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, and the about you is a movement. And I really know, Charmaine, that so many of us need to look back at what we're doing and take a pause and ask ourselves, are we doing it for us, or are we doing it for someone else? Because we lose ourselves. I mean, you can lose yourself in a midst of just doing something that you've been doing for a while, and you just like, who am I? So being in about you and your business right now, and kind of going through that, like, all the things that you have to still do, because you got these girls, and I'm like, these girls in college and senior in high school, and you got a lot going on. I know you are all moving here shortly, in the next few months or so. So, what do you do for yourself? You say it's about you. What are we talking about? Like, give me, a little bit more about that.
Okay. Yeah. So the business, or about
both. So about your business, and then about what does it look like for you?
So I have clients that I'm coaching right now. They have businesses, but they want to focus on the personal side of them and what it is that they want to accomplish for themselves.
Yeah.
And so I have clients that I'm doing that for. Also, I coach on the financial piece for, allowing people to understand, like, hey, man, you need to set your life up for your future generations, and I do this through insurance. And so just teaching people, a lot of people don't know about index universal life insurance policies. And there are people out there who's been doing this for years. And I asked one of our brother chiefs, as a matter of fact, I was like, yo, you heard about this IUL? And I'm all excited about it, thinking I'm about to break something down. He was like, oh, girl, please. My mama got that for me when I was a kid.
Oh.
So, yeah. And so, you know what I've done, right? I've gotten an IUL for both of my daughters.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. It's not like I'm putting a lot into theirs. Mine, I have to put a little bit more into because I'm older, because I didn't know about it and I started late, right?
Yeah.
And so I got to play the catch-up game. Whereas my daughters, I'm only putting a small piece in there for them And they will be taking over their payments, once they get a job. And then they can put more money into it, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, it allows for your money to be in a tax-free bucket. How great is that?
Yeah.
Right? So, because I love the TSP and everything that it does for you, the 401k, all of these things, but all of those are tied to market volatility, right?
Yeah.
Whereas an IUL, if the market completely crashes because there's a 0% floor, your money is here. When it crashes, your money stays there. When it goes up, your money goes up with it, right?
That's right.
And
That's
you hear people, they'll say, oh, well, all the fees that goes along with it and all the fees. But what they're not thinking about is when you have your money in these financial institutions, which is great. Let me make sure I'm clear. It's great for you to have that. Do you realize you're paying that person 4% every single year, regardless if you make money or completely lose it? You're paying them that 4% every year. So you got to think about those things. You got to think, okay, what outweighs? Do I want to pay my little small fee one time and then have this thing build for generations to come, where I can take a loan out against this tax-free, remove it from the market volatility? Like, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah.
But I
especially
didn't know
nowadays, Queen. I
especially
mean,
now.
because I'm like, we're looking at the market because you get things tied up in there, and I'm like, are we gonna be crashing and burning here in a minute? Like, I feel like it just completely took a dip, and some people got so much wrapped and rolled up in it. So you're right, when you don't want it to be affected,
Right.
having an option, and this is an option, y'all. I think that
Correct.
anything that anybody puts out to you, you do your research and understand that this is an option. When you're starting to look at where you're going to put your monies and how you want your monies to be working for you, especially for the long game. And I've got folks on here. Okay. Keith said, powerful. Natalie, hey, Natalie. Natalie's dropped in. She's clapping her hands. Leroy said, I'm going to start using the hashtag about you. This is important to vets that are entering military service as well as those who are making professional transitions on the civilian side. It speaks to the intentional focus that is needed to be placed on the immediate moments that can lead to smoother and more peaceful tomorrows. Wow. Okay. Jeba said, yes, their mentorship is generational legacy work. Oh, so she's talking about, Jeba, okay, first of all, the women that are in our circle, all of them got promoted. Okay, so Jeba got promoted, Deb got promoted, Vanity got promoted. Okay, so there is something to be said about who you surround yourself with. And everyone has a different way of how they went through their journey and the experience and their advice and so forth. But when you put all that together, then you create this I don't even know what it's to call. It's just like this a beautiful reflection of all of us pouring in. So I just absolutely love it. And then Natalie says, we are so fortunate to be able to do this for our families, take advantage when she's talking about the IUL. Vanity said facts. So, this is really the financial piece, which a lot of people are stressed out about anyway when you start talking about money, period. And then the about you, these two entities, if you will, that you're pairing together. This is so important for the health and welfare of so many people. And I already know, Queen, your blessings are going to be poured over and over and over again. Let it drip on you, Queen. Let it drip on you, because you're doing things that are needed and is most important, and give people peace of mind as to how they can continue on. And this new generation party past 12. This is what Keith says. He said, faith be partying past 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
She go past midnight.
Yeah, let me tell you. Yeah, so I love watching that crew, but I cannot hang with y'all, man. Faith, Deb, she doesn't sleep.
No.
And I see all these pictures of all of them out or whatever, and I do want to be with y'all, and I really do. And I'll get an invitation sometimes. I think I've stopped getting the invites because I'd be like, no, I can't come off. they coming out way too late, man. I do love watching them though, because
they'll be like, we starting at 10. I'm like, 10. I already got my bonnet on my head and these pajamas on. We not going anywhere. If I had to step out at 10, I have no business being out there. It's just she be out there, Queen. You hold the DMV streets down, okay, Deb? Because he said shaking my head. Okay. And the party doesn't start until after 10. Yes, that's what I just said. Glenroy, she be Deb up here giving 1,001 hearts, okay? Because she knows. Don't be asking us to go anywhere with you like that, because we cannot do it anymore. We used to be able to, but we just don't have it in us anymore. Trust, I have to take a nap when I'm with the ladies. That's what Natalie says. So I really think that our conversation has really allowed people to see more, get more about you and your journey and where you came from and where you're going. I appreciate you being here. Like, what else more haven't we talked about that you think that we need to talk about?
Well, I don't want to give everybody everything on one episode. Bring me back.
You just said come back for part 2.
I got some more tea.
You got some more tea? Listen, I was thinking, there's some, we got a lot to be said. There's enough of us to be getting on a show. And I'm telling you, it would just be crazy to hear all the things that we have gone through. But I would absolutely love a part 2, Queen. And she says, I'm a day party. D says she's a day party girl now.
Oh, D cutting up. No way.
D cutting up too, because she knows she lying. Okay. And it's Sunday too, D. It's Sunday.
I couldn't hang with D either. So, yeah. They know I was that friend. We be on TDYs. I'd be like, all right, y'all. They hit me up. I'll send them a picture of me in my onesie.
D and Mel, she said, look, because we were at your party. I was like, what time this party going to end out here? Okay.
And D and Natalie Castile are our age, so I don't know why they're sitting here messing around with Deb and her little crew.
Yeah, they living out their days. Okay. I'm good. Glenroy said, this has been an organic, informative, insightful conversation. Looking forward to the part 2. D said, bah, she did the whole bah thing. Okay, Keith, no, they didn't, D. And they're just going back and forth. But anyway, so what else have we're going to go and do the part 2. But before we end, is there anything, last words that you want to share with the audience before we get on out of here? Because y'all, we got to scooch on out of here.
Yeah. No, that's it though. That's I just did had a speaking engagement for some people, some of our fellow military members, and all I'll just say to them is the same thing I said to y'all. Say to you all the same thing I said to them, and that is, tag, you're it. And now that I've touched you, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. And that's important, because it's them. I mean, you're in it now. So what is it that you're going to do while you're there? And we can only do so much, right? You look back on your career, you may say to yourself, I could have been doing this. I should have did more of this, or, but those days are over. All right. And so, now we're moving on and we're doing it differently. So we are praying every single day for the safety and welfare of all those that are standing watch with whatever category that you're in. We know these are pressing times. We know these are very difficult and heavy times. So know that we are still okay supporting you behind the scenes. All right. So we just love y'all. And I just want to thank every one of you for being here on this show. Now Glenroy's got the benediction. Okay, so Charmaine, you got a song or maybe two lines to lead us out before he does the benediction.
Oh, y'all being for real?
He's got the benediction in here on the day.
Nah, I ain't singing nothing. Now go ahead now.
He said, the benediction, may the Lord watch between me and thee while we are absent one away from one another. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Thank you.
You know, so we had all kinds of people dropping up in here. Okay, so we just want to give you your flowers for just coming in. We know what's going on out there, but y'all decided to stay with us and enjoy our conversation. So we had Giovanni, Chevy. Just don't want to forget anybody. Okay, and then from the top here, Facebook, man, y'all just Vanity, Glenroy, Kim, Keith, Natalie. I just want to make sure I'm not missing Jeba, Deb. Is that everybody? D. Thank y'all. We really appreciate you. Because without people being here, we could have a conversation, but you all just made it a lot more enriching. And Faye said yes, tag we or it. As I'm finishing running these 3 miles during this chat, great convo and thanks for the words. Thanks, ladies. You know, she always getting it. So Kim said, sing, may the peace of the Lord go with you. So I thank you, Queen, from the bottom of my heart for being with me tonight. And of course, we'll see each other very, very soon because that's just the way our community operates.
Yeah.
And I have one last question and then we're going to be out of here. And that is, what do you want people to remember you for? Now, I'm working for my 80th birthday because there's something special about 80th birthdays. I went to my aunt's and they were giving her flowers and they had it spot on, Queen. It's like all the things that she had accomplished up to that point. And it was everything that she wanted to hear. So I ask this question of every guest that I have on the show because it's always interesting to me to learn and how we can support you to get there. So what would you want your family and friends to say about you if God gives you 80 years and you have a party? What would you want them to say?
Yeah, God is going to give me 80. He's going to give me 103.5. I already decided that's
what? Okay.
But what I want my family to say about me is that she changed the trajectory of our entire family.
That's right. Yeah.
That's what I want them to say.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you did.
And still got to do. Yep.
You know,
it's just the beginning.
It's just the beginning.
Yep.
You know, and I know that this speaks true for many of us in our community. We have done something differently and powerfully. And it cannot be denied. Cannot be denied. So I love you. And y'all, please come back next Sunday. I'll have another SLAYMAZING guest from the community come up in here and give us their experience and what they're doing and how we can improve our lives. This has been a totally enriching conversation. And Banny says she loves you, Chief. We love you guys. Make sure you stay safe. I know we're supposed to have a tornado out here tomorrow, so everybody get into them basements. All right, we want to see you in the next days after that. This weather is just crazy.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So keep on slaying until you can't slay no more. Thank you so much, Queen, for being here. And
thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're absolutely welcome. Okay, y'all. Bye.
Bye.